Hold on to your tokes, folks, because what's happening in the world of oil is enough to make even the most seasoned energy analysts do a double take. Canada, known for its maple syrup, hockey, and polite people, is suddenly at the center of a global energy shakeup. The winds of change are blowing through the oil markets, and they're carrying a distinctly Canadian chill. The global oil market just did a double take, and for good reason. For years, the United States was riding high, pumping out record amounts of oil and shipping it around the world. American oil was supposed to be the next big thing, a symbol of energy independence and economic might. But now, the script is flipped, and the world's biggest oil importer, China, is rewriting the rules. Remember when America was poised to become an energy superpower? The headlines were full of bold predictions and oil executives were celebrating. But someone forgot to tell China. Instead of doubling down on American crude, China has made a dramatic pivot, leaving U.S. oil producers scratching their heads and looking north for answers. The world's biggest oil importer is ditching American crude and embracing a new northern fling, Canadian oil. That's right, China is cozying up to Canada and the numbers are staggering. Shipments of Canadian oil to China have surged while American oil is being left out in the cold. It's a relationship built on convenience, opportunity, and a little bit of necessity. China's imports of U.S. oil have plummeted by a staggering 90% since their peak in 2024. That's not just a dip, it's a free fall. American oil terminals that once bustled with activity are now eerily quiet, and tankers that used to sail for Asia are sitting idle. For U.S. producers, it's a harsh wake-up call and a reminder that global markets can turn on a dime. Meanwhile, Canadian oil is flowing across the Pacific like maple syrup on a hot stack of pancakes. New pipelines and expanded export terminals have made it easier than ever for Canada to ship its oil to Asia. Chinese refineries are eager for reliable, affordable crude, and Canada is stepping up to fill the gap. It's a win-win for both countries, and a major shift in the global energy landscape. So what's behind this seismic shift? Buckle up because it's a wild ride involving trade wars, shifting alliances, new infrastructure, and a whole lot of black gold. From tariffs and political tensions to the race for energy security, every move is being watched by governments and investors alike. As China dumps American oil and embraces Canada, the ripple effects are being felt around the world, and this story is just getting started. Remember that whole trade war thing between the US and China? Turns out slapping tariffs on everything but the kitchen sink has consequences. When it comes to oil, China decided to take its business elsewhere. And by elsewhere, we mean north, to the land of hockey and surprisingly aggressive geese. Canada. See, when you impose tariffs, you make things more expensive. Suddenly, American oil wasn't looking so appealing to Chinese buyers. They wanted a bargain, and Canada, with its vast reserves and a little help from a certain pipeline, was ready to deal. Enter the Trans-Mountain Pipeline Expansion, or TMX, Canada's not-so-secret weapon in the battle for China's oil market. This engineering marvel, completed in 2023, opened up a crucial artery for Canadian oil to flow to the Pacific coast. And guess who's conveniently located just across the pond? That's right, China. With TMX up and running, Canada could pump up the volume and ship more oil to Asia than ever before. It was a game-changer, giving them a direct line to the world's biggest energy market. Advantage Canada. But it's not just about convenience. Canadian oil has some serious selling points. First off, it's cheaper than the stuff coming out of the Middle East. And in the cutthroat world of international trade, price matters. Second, Chinese refineries love the dense, high-sulfur crude that Canada produces. It's like the perfect ingredient for their industrial recipe. And finally, there's the reliability factor. With the US and China locked in a perpetual trade tango, China wants a stable, drama-free supplier. Canada, with its friendly demeanor and lack of tariff tantrums, fits the bill perfectly. So what does this all mean for the American oil industry? In a word, ouch. US oil majors like ExxonMobil and Chevron are watching their market share in China evaporate faster than a puddle in the Sahara. Those dreams of energy dominance, looking more like a pipe dream every day. And yeah, it's not just about lost exports. The trade war has created a ripple effect of headaches for the US energy sector, from higher import costs to supply chain disruptions. But this isn't just a story about oil, it's about the forces shaping our world today. Forces that reach far beyond the oil fields and refineries. Oil, once the undisputed king of the global economy, is now at the center of a much larger transformation. The choices nations make about energy, trade, and technology are all interconnected, creating a complex web of challenges and opportunities. What we're witnessing is a microcosm of the larger geopolitical shifts underway. Countries are rethinking their alliances, their economic strategies, and even their national identities. The world map is being redrawn, not with borders but with new networks of influence and cooperation. As old powers adapt and new ones rise, the balance of power is shifting in ways that will define the coming decades. China, for example, is asserting itself as a global power like never before. Through massive infrastructure projects, strategic investments, and a relentless focus on innovation, China is forging new alliances and rewriting the rules of trade. Its Belt and Road Initiative stretches across continents, connecting economies and securing resources. Chinese companies are now leaders in everything from electric vehicles to advanced manufacturing, challenging the dominance of Western firms. Meanwhile, the United States is grappling with the consequences of its own actions, both past and present. Decades of offshoring manufacturing, political polarization, and shifting global priorities have left the U.S. at a crossroads. Policymakers are now faced with tough decisions about how to rebuild domestic industries, strengthen alliances, and maintain global leadership in a rapidly changing world. And let's not forget the elephant in the room: clean energy. The transition to renewable sources like solar, wind, and electric vehicles is no longer just an environmental imperative. It's a race for economic and technological supremacy. The countries that lead in clean energy will shape the future of global industry, jobs, and even security. As the world transitions away from fossil fuels, the U.S. finds itself lagging behind China in key areas like solar panels, batteries, and critical minerals. China has invested heavily in the entire supply chain, from mining rare earth elements to manufacturing advanced batteries, giving it a significant edge. This dominance isn't just about economics. It's about who controls the technologies that will power the next century. The ongoing trade war has only exacerbated these challenges, making it harder for the U.S. to access the materials and technologies it needs to compete. Tariffs, export controls, and political tensions have disrupted supply chains and increased costs, leaving American companies scrambling to catch up. The stakes are high, and the outcome will shape not just the future of energy, but the very nature of global power. Now you might be thinking, how's America's self-proclaimed dealmaker reacting to all this? After all, this is the man who built his brand on the promise of always coming out on top, the author of The Art of the Deal, and the president who vowed to put America first in every negotiation. But as the world turns and the oil markets shift, even the most confident negotiators can find themselves on the back foot. Well, let's just say he's not exactly thrilled. In fact, behind closed doors, sources say there's been more than a little frustration. Imagine spending years promising to bring back American jobs, to revive the energy sector, and to outmaneuver global competitors, only to watch as your biggest rival, China, swoops in and makes deals right next door. It's the kind of twist that would make even the most seasoned dealmaker wince. The man who once promised American energy dominance is now facing a reality where China is buying Canadian oil like it's going out of style. Canadian oil, once destined for American refineries, is now being loaded onto tankers bound for Chinese ports. The pipelines that were supposed to secure America's energy future are instead fueling China's industrial boom. It's a scenario that few in Washington saw coming, and one that has left many policymakers scrambling for answers. The irony is not lost on anyone. Around the world, analysts, politicians, and everyday citizens are shaking their heads at the unexpected consequences of America's trade war. What was meant to be a show of strength has, in some ways, become a lesson in unintended outcomes. The very policies designed to isolate China have instead pushed Canada and China closer together, creating new alliances and shifting the balance of power in the global energy market. The trade war, intended to make America great again, has inadvertently strengthened its rivals and undermined its own industries. American factories that once thrived on cheap energy and open markets are now struggling to compete. Ports that used to hum with activity are quieter, as shipments are rerouted and deals are struck elsewhere. Meanwhile, China is seizing the opportunity to secure resources and expand its influence, all while American workers and businesses are left to wonder what went wrong. It's enough to make you wonder if someone switched out his art of the deal with a copy of things that make you go, Because in the high-stakes world of international trade and energy, even the best-laid plans can unravel in unexpected ways. As America grapples with the fallout, one thing is clear: the art of the deal is a lot more complicated than it looks on TV. And sometimes, the biggest surprises come from the deals you thought you had already won. And what about Canada in all of this? They're like the polite, unassuming neighbor who suddenly wins the lottery and everyone's a little bit jealous. With its vast oil reserves, strategic pipeline, and stable political climate, Canada is emerging as a major player in the global energy market. They're the reliable supplier, the friendly face in a world of trade tensions. And as the US continues to shoot itself in the foot with tariffs and unpredictable policies, Canada is quietly but confidently stepping into the void. So there you have it. The global oil market is undergoing a dramatic transformation, and Canada is at the forefront of this change. The trade war, pipeline politics, and the rise of clean energy are all converging to create a new world order in oil. One thing's for sure: the days of American energy dominance may be over. And as the world shifts towards a more sustainable future, the question is, will the US adapt, or be left behind in the dust of a changing energy landscape?